Hey, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for another Grand Prairie podcast. My name's Emily. I am filling in and joining Mr. KD over here.
What's up?
And we have an awesome guest with us today, Josh, and he's going to go into all of the grand things about him. I've seen you in passing, like I said, but I have high expectations.
It's going to be a short podcast.
I have high expectations.
I won't let it be, sir. I won't let it be.
Going to need some filler.
Yeah. Nah, Because you've been around for a while.
Yep.
Yes,
You've
sir.
done some things.
So, yeah, I want to hear all these great stories. All right, so before we get started, then, I don't know, just kind of introduce yourself, tell us rank, where you at, what you're doing, that type of thing.
So, Josh, been here at Grand Prairie for 16 years. So, just came out of majors and then back in patrol.
Yeah.
So, loving patrol again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for
it's
you.
Cool. It's cool going
Yeah.
back after a while. Yeah.
So 16 years, I had no idea it was that long.
16 here and then 20 total.
Wow.
So, lateral.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So, it was such a small department. I started when I was 18, actually.
No
in
way.
Minnesota. Yeah.
Minnesota.
Minnesota, eh?
Do you eat cheese curds?
No,
Is that
yeah.
Minnesota? That's
Yes.
Wisconsin.
No.
They're close.
I mean, they go over there.
I love a good cheese
Cheese curds
curd.
are good, and they're different than mozzarella sticks.
Yeah.
Cheese curds are way better.
Okay.
Have you had a cheese curd?
No, let's talk about it.
Buddy.
A mozzarella stick is like fried cheese.
Yeah, so it's a cheese curd
But how are they different?
because
So-
it's small bits.
Yeah.
So there's more breading to cheese ratio, so it's way better.
And you
Way better.
can get them. Cheddar's has fried cheese curds.
Yeah.
It's a cheese curd, so a cheese curd's not going to be bad. But if you go to Kroger and like their like deli cheese section, you can get you some little cheese curds in a bag. Oh, buddy.
A&W,
Oh, really?
A&W, and
Okay.
they're the best ones that I've had down here.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Wow.
are you from Minnesota?
Yeah. So born and raised in Minnesota, and then was a cop up there for like 4 years. Like I said, started when I was 18. So if you imagine that, you can't even purchase a pistol.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
no, you're not
Yeah.
old enough to get a gun.
No. So
Here's your slingshot.
so my mom had to buy my gun. When I went to the range, my mom had to buy the bullets so I could go qualify and shoot and all that stuff.
How
It
does
was
that
a terrible idea.
happen?
It was a terrible idea. They shouldn't have
my
allowed it. They
God.
don't anymore. But
Wow.
yeah,
has
I
a
probably
rule.
ruined it for him. Yeah, there's a Josh rule in
But,
Minnesota.
like,
Josh rule.
that you-
Minnesota is a different world. I lived in Austin, Minnesota for like the first
Did
year
you?
of my life. My parents are from up north.
Okay.
It's just a different world up there.
yeah.
They're-
I mean,
They're different.
It was rural where I was living. I lived in St. Peter and a small town like south of Minneapolis, St. Paul by like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So it was good. I mean, it was a great childhood. I miss the snow sometimes. And then I realized I don't miss the snow. I just want to go visit it and then leave.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
yeah.
I was obviously too little to remember, but in pictures, I've seen like my brother would build like snow houses just like out of the front door because the snow packs all the way up. And
Yeah.
so he would build little houses with
We
tunnels
jump
and
off
stuff.
the roof into the snowbanks and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a place for you, Katie.
No.
It's not. It's good, though. It's good.
50 degrees and I've got a turtleneck on,
Yeah.
I can assure you. Oh, man, that's awesome. So,
Yeah.
not old enough to get a gun, but you're old
Correct.
enough to go through their academy.
Yeah, so it was called a part-time license, but because I was working 2 full-time jobs, I was working as a third shift powder coating company supervisor, and then also just because I was working on the weekends, I was working full-time hours on the weekends at this PD. It was a real small PD. It was actually Arlington, Minnesota, and so when you're kind of in that county or you're an officer in that county, it's just a bunch of small little towns. So
Yeah.
there's like one officer in each town on duty at a time. So you're
Wow.
kind of running the whole county.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was a lot of good experience. I got to work with my dad. My dad was an officer there too.
Cool.
So that was fun.
Yeah. Where'd your accent go?
I was for years caught in between accents where I was getting made fun of when I went home and then
Bummer.
made fun of down here. And I remember because I never knew that we had an accent, right? Like I didn't believe it. And then I was down here for like 5 years or something like that. And I went back up there and I was in AutoZone picking up some parts from my mom's car. This dude walks in and he's like, "Oh yeah, can I get some windshield wipers for an 05 Tahoe?" And I'm like,
Tahoe.
"Good God, is that what I sounded like?" Like, it was so bad.
Okay.
It was so bad.
Question for you. I'm going to spell out a word. I want you to just pronounce it without even thinking.
But we're talking about
Flags.
FLAGS? Flags.
Flags. He said flags.
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 Yeah. Jack always says, I always have to think about how I say bagel in front of her because it'll be bagel.
Bagel.
Yeah. Let's go get some bagels.
Yeah.
Oh, that's bad.
Bagel.
Yeah, bagel.
Where have you been? Doug.
Like, wait, bagel.
Flag. Yeah.
Flag.
That one always gets me. Not that I hear people from Minnesota pronouncing flag all the time, but the one time I did, it just kind of stuck
It's
clearly.
flag.
Flag.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Don't you know?
Don't you know? Yeah.
Cheese curds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay. So
I don't know how we ended up there.
I know.
I think that was my
It's so
fault.
if we
good,
go
though.
left, we're going left. That's okay. So your dad was an officer.
Yeah.
All right. Did he retire up there?
No, he passed.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So, so he passed in 2009. So I had moved down here for 2 years.
Okay.
So he and I were tight. So, like, I went to a full-time academy up there while I was doing the part-time cop thing. And then there was just so many. So I was getting my associate's degree in law enforcement at Alexandria Tech. And there's so many. It's so saturated with officers up there. You know, there's buddies of mine who, after we graduated, like 3 years later, were finally getting their first cop job because they refused to leave Minnesota.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember my buddy texting me. He's like, "Dude, I finally got one. It's part-time cop, part-time maintenance man," and he wasn't like that. It was just so saturated. So the pay sucked.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so I remember being there, and I'm like, all I want to do is become a cop,
Yeah.
or be a cop in a good-sized city.
Yeah.
And wasn't real keen on Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Yeah.
And I was just praying hard. I was like, just send me where you need me.
Yeah.
And the next day, Grand Prairie was actually up at my college recruiting.
Way up north.
In Minnesota?
Yeah. Came all the way up to Alex
Wow.
Tech and recruited. Yeah. So it was awesome.
Wait.
Huh. We're getting out there.
I know.
I love it.
Way back in 2007.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yep. Because we had a couple officers here from Minnesota who realized that the market was saturated, and they do make good cops up there. There's Hibbing and Alex Tech are two of the best academies in the nation.
Yeah.
It was an associate's degree where some of our classes were shooting. Like, I had an entire semester of shooting and pursuit driving. They have a town built on campus so that you drive around in patrol cars and answer calls. They have a radio system,
way.
everything. Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm getting like Silence of the Lambs flashback.
Yeah.
No? To when like they're in those little towns driving? No?
What you talking about?
I don't know.
Whenever like Clarice is
Put the
in
lotion in the basket.
No, and she's like in a training, and then one of the big guys is, Clarice, you're needed, and she's like, oh, okay, and like leaves. No, okay, that's fine, it's fine.
I
Whatever.
have to go and watch that movie. Watch.
Yeah,
She's
I
gonna have
haven't- it's
everybody
been a
watching
long
that movie.
time.
It's like
It's been
one
a
of my
long time since
favorites.
I've
It's
seen it.
fine. It's fine.
I think I've only seen it once, like when it first came out.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry.
89.
I digress. What a cool experience though to be able to share that with your dad, to have
sure.
that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I mean, not a lot of people get to do that.
Yeah.
So that's
It was
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
For sure. It was a blessing.
Absolutely.
So with him in law enforcement, were you one of those kids that you was able to hang around other officers at the station and
Yeah.
do
yeah.
stuff that kids usually wasn't allowed to do?
No, Dad was harder on me than anybody else, So yeah, but I mean, it was good. It was good. He also ran all of Southern Minnesota's emergency medical services. So I've always been around PD, fire, EMS, stuff like that.
So from a young age, did you kind of know that this was your
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I just
path?
did it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even think about it, really. It wasn't like this. As a kid, I wasn't like running around playing cops and robbers. I just did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just knew that's what I was going to do. So
Yeah. Very cool. And everybody was supportive of that, I'm assuming, coming from a law enforcement
yeah,
family?
my dad's best friend was the chief of police where we worked. And so when I started pitching the idea of going to Grand Prairie, moving, like I just sold everything that I owned at a garage sale,
Wow.
loaded up my Dodge Dakota pickup. And then,
Yeah, you
And I
did.
just drove down. That was it. By my
Oh my
on
God.
my own. So
And how old were you? Like 20-something?
21.
Wow.
22. Just barely 22.
Big move.
I was gonna say, talk about stepping out.
Yeah.
Just barely 22. But I mean, it was so obvious to me that that's where I needed to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, God just spelled it out for me. That's what I felt.
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, fine, let's go.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
didn't think about it. So my chief was very supportive in
Yeah.
pushing me down here. He was like, don't get scared, just go do it. And so my dad and he had words a couple of times because Dad wanted me to stay.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
but as soon as I got
Yeah.
down here, he was down here all the time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
How scary. 21 selling everything and just driving down.
Yeah, it was fun though.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
why
cool.
not?
I wouldn't.
Wing it.
Yeah.
Oh man, no.
So did you what did you do? Like you go straight into the academy here, lateral academy?
Yeah, I was. I think there was like a month and a half where I was just hanging out at the training center.
Yeah.
And then just went to the COG Academy, so
Oh,
the
okay.
regional academy before
Yeah.
we started our own.
Yeah.
And then, got cut loose, did patrol, worked Dalworth area. Had a lot of fun down there with the guys. Like we were just constantly getting into stuff. I had a really good group of guys, like Monty, Borland,
Monty.
Lieutenant, Paulson before he went
Yeah.
promoted. Like we all were working that area together. So it was a good time.
Very cool.
Yeah. So for the civilian listeners, COG is it's kind of like you take your recruits, and if you don't have your own training set up, you can send them to a regional type training where like different cities would use that one place.
Yeah, and there's a bunch. There's Irving, Hearst, Euless, Plano. Kind of everybody was using it at that time.
At that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like now we have our own in-house training, so to speak. So
Which is way better because even though I went to the academy over there, then we came back and then did several weeks of in-service here, 7 more weeks of in-service here, so that we could learn the Grand Prairie way.
Yeah.
And there's a huge difference. Just a
absolutely.
huge difference. They made it easy.
So
you know?
talk about that difference.
So not to knock COG, but it was just they had to kind of fit the mold of everybody's policy and stuff like that, right? So you had a more generic officer. And then when you came to Grand Prairie, we got to be refined into what Grand Prairie wanted, how we were going to do it, because we handle things very differently than Plano does, than Arlington does, than anybody else does. So we had some really, really good instructors at that time. Andy Mack was out there.
Yeah.
He just spelled everything out. He was super cool. Tommy Pratt, Zacharias, Chief Zacharias. So, I mean, it was just a good group of guys that were really switched on.
Yeah.
And
That's
just
awesome.
showed us the Grand Prairie way, and there was a lot of pride in it, and there
Yeah.
still is,
That's a handful of officers and assistant chief, all that are they're
solid.
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I always tell people the training. When you get the good training, then you're gonna constantly pump out good officers,
Yeah.
and then all you have to do is step back. And so, like he's saying now, hell, they're chiefs and everything else.
Lieutenants, chiefs, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and so if you want to, you go put them through good training and just sit back and then watch them, and they flourish and they grow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so when you got here, started off in patrol. Where else did you go? Because
Yeah. So I right out of patrol, 2 years in patrol, I went to directed patrol. At that time, it was under Sergeant Scott Robinson.
directed patrol. Is
Yep.
that kind of like what do we call it now? Deployment.
Now it's deployment.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
So at that time, we had just merged with narcotics. So we had direct patrol, which was 5 of us that were uniform. We were in like polos and BDUs, and drove around in squad cars. And then we had the 5 narcs as well, right?
Okay.
So it was awesome. We were just really concentrating on high crime areas and dope houses and stuff like that. So we'd have all the narcs to do the surveillance, and then we'd be on our own channel and they'd follow them off. We'd be able to make stops. So it was just, we were helping out a ton of federal agencies at that time and stuff like that, they would always direct their deals to Grand Prairie so that we could take them down.
Wow.
So
That's cool.
it was a fun time. Oh,
Yeah.
I tell you, that's one of the best times of my career because we would I won't get into too many details because I don't want to give up trade secrets, right?
Yeah.
But we would end up getting a vast amount of warrants, PC warrants or probable cause warrants, arrest warrants for dope cases, right? And because we were out there buying dope. And then we would go and we'd have this packet of them. And because we wouldn't immediately arrest them, we would wait until we had a whole stack of warrants. And then we would go rent a van, a minivan, and we'd take all the seats out of the van and tape garbage bags over the windows and then we would go into that area, spot them, spot the wanted felons, and we just pull up to them, hop out, grab them, snag them, put them in the van, and take off. So they look like people get kidnapped.
What?
Yeah.
911 was your mercy. Oh, a bunch of people jumped out and grabbed them.
Yeah, and that area would be a ghost town because once they started seeing it happen, everybody's like, "Oh, it's secret indictments! It's secret indictments!"
Yeah.
And so we do that for a few weeks, and man, we'd have to change hours or as soon as we go and as soon as we nab one, it would be a ghost town for the rest of the day. So you're just kind of getting one at a time. Then after that.
So do y'all think you were able to do that because you had deployment and narcotics working under the same umbrella?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what made it such an efficient unit,
just super logistical.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So that was
wow.
I'm telling you, that was a blast.
So not only do you see that on the movies or in the movie,
it may have
that's
happened
real
back
life.
then.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
But here's the thing: it was kind of the only way we were able to get those guys into custody and do it safely.
Because otherwise they're going to run.
That's right.
Or get in a car. And now you got
Yep. And so we were able to just surprise them, bounce out, yell police, get them arrested, take them, and just take off, go get them processed. Yeah.
Well, when he says take off, we put the seatbelt on them, of course.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Buckle them in.
Don't email me.
Yeah.
Is the air conditioning good?
Yeah.
Warmer, colder?
That's freaking awesome.
That is very, very cool.
All right. So what other units? Because
then DPU was kind of dissolved, and then it became just narcotics. So then I started doing the undercover narcotics stuff.
Yeah.
Had a K9, Narcotics K9 at the time.
Really?
Yep. And then went back to patrol for a year. Just to had some personal stuff going on at that time. I got divorced, and so I was just taking a year to go back and get things right with my kids. And then went up to majors for the last 6 years, 6.5 years.
Yeah.
So, and then just recently, and that was another. I didn't think that any group of guys was going to even come close to what we had in DPU and narcotics. Yeah, I mean, because the guys that we had back then were, now Sergeant Edwards, Sergeant Guerra, Jeff Askin, just the old school, again, Monty. Yeah. So Monty and I followed each other around in our careers for a while here. But going to majors it changed a little bit because in narcotics, if you mess up a case, it's like, okay, the state's the victim. All right, we'll catch them next time. Yeah. If you mess up a case in majors, you have a victim attached to it. You have a victim's family and all that stuff. So thought I was pretty good at warrants and thought I was pretty good at interviews and stuff like that, but majors just blew you away to another level. Yeah.
Is that because the emotional piece is stronger in a majors case than it would be a narcotics case, or what's the difference?
I don't think necessarily the emotions are different. I didn't feel any more emotional about
on the victim side.
Could be. I mean, it was just higher stakes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You were going to disappoint people. You're going to. These were. Just speaking on the murders, we do a lot of stuff in majors here. Don't get me wrong. Everything from harassment to homicide that unit covers, as long as it's not a child or it's family violence, right? So aggravated robberies of gas stations and stuff like that, those are always super fun. It's just trying to outsmart the guys, right? Sure. Trying to outsmart the crooks. So, but it's, especially on a homicide, it's just everything is elevated. The scrutiny is elevated. Like I said, the stakes are just higher. So it does add quite a bit more stress.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
So let me ask you this. Of course, I'm in a whole different unit, but as officers see these cases, like you said, okay, you get a homicide. Have you ever had to stop what you're doing just to answer outside voices? Some councilman called and go, where are we on this case? No, we actually, our admin does a good job of insulating and enabling those guys to do their work. Good. Right? Okay. Because that's, excuse me, that's just super important. Because once you get the ball rolling, you don't want to stop, and our administration is very good about letting us, there's a lot of trust there, and they just let us go do our job, which is awesome. Yeah. Which is awesome. And that group of guys in there is, I cannot say enough good about that group of guys in there now. They are,
it's an amazing team.
Lifelong friends, and it's brutal. It's brutal in there. Don't misspeak, don't mispronounce something, don't stutter, because you will be destroyed. It's just nonstop poking at each other. But it makes for I mean, just the ideal team in there right now, for sure.
Okay, so, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit because most police officers, when you start talking about majors, that's the pinnacle. I know some of us are SWAT, this and that. When you get to majors, because there's nothing more than a homicide, right?
Right.
But when you start talking schedules,
Yeah.
like how did that affect your life, the home life and things like
it's
that?
unbelievably stressful. It is. Like, even if you don't think that it is,
Right.
it's taxing.
Right.
And so, there's things that you don't even know that you're holding on to. Because I felt pretty numb to it all. Like, stuff just didn't bother me, like, at all.
Desensitized
Yeah.
to it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so, but there are instances like that I know that things were attaching because we had a case where, unfortunately, this girl was killed in her house and she was curled up in a ball in the corner, right? So she had, in my mind, she had ran to the furthest part of the house, curled up in a ball, and then was killed there, right? Yeah. And I remember looking at it and thinking, man, that's up, you know? But then I just walked away from it. 2 years later, I'm chasing my daughter around, and we get to, like, I'm chasing her, we're laughing, having a good time, and she gets to her bedroom and goes to the corner and curls up in a ball. And it was like an immediate flashback to that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which was crazy.
How could it not?
Like, I didn't even, I never knew that I was holding on to that, but such an emotional feeling,
Yeah.
attached
Brings you
to
like
that.
right back to that time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and then on top of that, like callbacks.
Call outs, yeah.
Oh, call outs.
Yep.
Yeah, talk about that for a little bit.
I mean, you don't get to relax because even so, the schedule was you'd be a primary detective on call, and then you'd have a partner who would be backup, right? So if it's, we go on almost all deceased, unattended deaths, right, under certain circumstances. So if there's like no medical history or it's a overdose or they're young, we will send a detective out. And usually that's a one detective call out.
Okay.
If we go to maybe a suicide and we maybe need some help, then we'll call our backup first. And then on homicides, we're calling in more people, oftentimes most of the unit. So the guys are always good about showing up, and you have to be available.
Right.
Right. So, it was at any time your phone could ring and you're going to want to show up. You're going to want to show up. So again, things that you don't realize that are going on or the stresses that are added to you. Like, I didn't realize until I just recently went back to patrol how taxing that was, because now it's like such a breath of fresh air. It's like, I don't care where my phone is. Like, there's not that panic of, holy crap, did I fall asleep with my ringer off?
Right.
There's none of that.
Right.
So,
And that's the tough thing about like any sort of on-call status, right? Is like, if you're working 40 hours, whatever, when you get home, you can turn off, but you guys can never turn off.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's a major stress impact that has. How were you able to maintain that whenever you were working majors?
I mean, it was kind of the same thing. Like, I didn't even really think about it. Like, I had such a good, Jack's such an amazing lady friend. She would like pick it up, pick up my slack and stuff like that with the girls and the boys and stuff like that. Like, it was just, she made it very easy to be able to do it. Was never any guilt trips. She was always understanding, sometimes it sucks, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's major.
Yeah.
Oh, it was huge.
Yeah.
It was everything, for sure.
That's great.
For sure.
I'm glad you had that support and continue to.
Oh, yeah.
That's big.
Yeah. With the call outs, so I guess, is there a point where you can get the call out and then it's like, I'm not really sure. So then I'm going to call my other buddy who may not be on call, but he or she has to come out.
Yeah, yeah. And they were always willing to do that.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm not sure about this one.
Yeah.
Let's get another set of eyes on it, So, and we would do that all the time with all of our other cases too, just round tabling. And, we'd have guys that we'd be working a homicide for a week, right? And one of the guys was off, right? And then when they come in, we've been staring at the same board, the same evidence over and over and over again. Nothing's clicking. And then that dude walks in the room and he's like, oh, yeah, did you think of this? And it solves the case. And you're like,
yeah, we've been here for 4 days.
And there's so many different levels of experience and guys from, I mean, everybody in there, I think, had CID experience, and if not CID, specialized unit experience.
Yeah.
And so there's just a ton of different walks of life that just really made it. Everybody was just looking at it from a different point of view, which was cool. For sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so well, shoot, in majors, do you have a scary story or something you can share? Because I don't want to say like a funny story, because I'm like, well, coming out of majors ain't nothing funny, but like, do you have a hair raising story where you just kind of like, yeah, we were thinking this and it was totally opposite? That we can put on air.
Yeah, most of the ones that I'm trying to think of any that we have that have already gone to trial, because I just don't want to say anything stuff that hasn't gone to trial. But I mean, all of them. One thing that it was huge in that unit was follow the evidence. Don't like if you start getting a preconceived notion about who did it or what happened, you're going to find evidence for that. Right.
Oh.
It's kind of like you're a race car driver. They always say, don't look at the wall, don't look at the wall, don't look at the wall. Because if you look at the wall, you hit it, right? Same with pursuit driving. Don't look at the cones. Don't do that, because that's what you're going to hit. Just stare through the gap. And you have to do that in majors too, or in any investigation. Because once you get that preconceived notion, because we had a murder where this dude had a silver, the suspect had a silver Ford Focus. And we had a decent picture from surveillance video of that vehicle at the murder scene, and we had a good picture of him at a location here in Grand Prairie, of the actual guy, right? So we put it out to other agencies, and we had APD Arlington send us a tip, be like, hey, it looks like this guy. So we pull up the mugshot of that suggestion, and he looks really good, right? But the video is just not quite clear enough to be able to make a positive ID. We start researching him. Lo and behold, he has a silver Ford Escort or a Ford Focus, same year model, everything. Yeah. So we're like, oh, we got our guy. We pull him in. We got enough for a PC warrant. We pull him in, and not him. It was not him. Like the things that fall in line. Yeah. Which is why it's just so important. Just follow the evidence. Yeah.
So doing all of the specializations that you've done, and please brag on yourself if you feel so inclined to. But what kind of traits, what kind of skills does it take to do that kind of job?
I mean, you definitely have to be a team player. Yeah. You definitely have to be willing to not know the answer and rely on your other guys. I remember a big transition from my work in narcotics to the work in majors was, as soon as we get into a case in majors, everybody's running around doing their own thing, and then they bring you the information. And I hated it at first, because everything in my narcotics investigations was me. Right. And so when you really have to just be able to rely on your teammates for sure. And you got to be able to think outside the box, and you need to be able to just put in the time. It takes a lot of time. There was a homicide we were working where I was watching surveillance video. I'd watched it 6 or 7 times, and I had nothing else to do because we had no leads, and we just kept watching it. I just kept watching it, and finally I noticed that the 7th or 8th time that I'm watching it, it's the first time I noticed there's a vehicle driving around, and it had a little pink light in the dashboard, and he was driving around where we saw the suspects go. And so I remember from an interview that I conducted about this, it was one of the victim's friends, in fact. He told me how they used to go commit robberies together, and they would use Lyfts and Ubers to flee the scene.
No way.
And that just so happened to be the first weekend that they mandated that nighttime Ubers and Lyfts had the light.
Wow.
And so we ended up running warrants on, I ran warrant on Lyft, and sure enough, it was that guy that I had talked to.
Wow.
And so that's the only reason, is just sticking with it, just nonstop. Just keep looking it over.
Yeah. So it's not like the 48 Hours ID channel.
No.
Nothing like that.
No.
Got it.
I mean, you want to get on it, but
I think I'm ready now. Hey, bro.
It's fun.
Hey, is that a Lyft? Is that a Lyft? I'm solving the case.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, the patients that I assume you'd have to just
Yeah.
be open to there could always be something that I'm missing here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because there are often times where, like a whodunit murder, where we just have no idea, or stranger murders are unbelievably difficult. Stranger murders are there's some connection, right? But random and stranger murders are very difficult.
Yeah.
So there's been multiple times where we're like, we ain't gonna solve this one. And then sure enough, you just grind through it. Just put that out of your head, grind through it. And then one tiny little stupid thing will unravel the whole thing. It just gets you started.
Wow.
So just sticking with it, tenacity, for sure.
Absolutely. Very cool. I'm just fascinated.
Me too.
You want to go to majors now?
Yeah.
Do it. You should.
But I'm that one guy. So it's, KD, you're up. You get this call. And I'm going to call one of my buddies out and be like, bro, I just wanted you out here with me. It's 2 in the morning.
I mean, there are times where you call and you're like, hey, man, you want some overtime? I don't really need you, but you need some OT.
I'm just like, Katie, it's cut and dry. Here it is. I'm like, bro, I just want you out here.
But I'm lonely.
2 in the call out things, because it's just, it does something to your home life.
Yes, it does.
You know what I mean? Yep. And it's like, especially with little ones, like, when I say little ones, hell, mine are 7 and 11, but it's like, I don't want to take away from them. Yeah. Being on call is taxing.
Yes, it is.
Because then you can have an event at the house, but there's certain things you can't do, like you can't leave, you can't travel, you can't drink. It's like you're just there. You're just there.
It is, for sure. And I feel like I maybe was an oversharer with the girls. My younger girls, they're 8 and 10, and I'd be like, all right, girls, I gotta go. Like, Dad's gotta go in, and she's like, oh, who killed who? And I'm like, oh, I gotta stop talking to you about this, because they were like, then they wanted to hear about it. And I'm like, I'm not gonna talk to you about it. But it was always kind of that the girls would come over and they'd be like, are you on call? And I'm like, because I know they feel it.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, it is taxing. However, I think everybody should at some point go do it. Like, it's also the most fulfilled that I've felt as an officer to date. Like, I think of one where we solved it, and the chance to get to tell the mom that we got the guy, and like gave a huge hug. Like, that was, I'm crying, she's crying. Like, it was that moment, pinnacle of my career, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah,
for sure.
I have goosebumps. That's really cool. Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to explain, because people often ask me, Katie, where's a high point in your career? Sometimes it's as simple as, I remember taking a dude to jail and taking the handcuffs off, and as he turns around, he goes, man, I just want to shake your hand and say thank you for not talking to me crazy. Yeah. And it's like, I said, bro, I've known you to the point to where I used to tell him, don't do that, or XYZ has to happen. And he had so much respect for me. He would go, Katie, listen, this is what happened. I said, okay, Q, you know you got to go to jail. Yeah. He was all right. So he was like, will you take me? And it's just little things like that that make you just stop and go, holy crap.
For sure. And I think that's something that can easily be lost, especially in younger officers. Like, I didn't, we keep doing all this stuff where we're like, hey, let's personify the badge. Let's, show how cops are people. And we are, absolutely, right? But we're our own worst enemy, too. You can't go out there acting like you're better than everybody else, or treating people with disrespect and then expect respect back. And so I remember, like, it was a huge change in my career doing undercover work and working confidential informants, because my CI phone, my confidential informant phone, would blow up on the holidays with people saying, hey, Merry Christmas, Thanksgiving, Happy Thanksgiving, and stuff like that. Because, I remember I was buying meth off this dude through Craigslist. Yeah. And he kept, I would go show up and he'd ghost me. Yeah. Excuse me. And he would, finally, I just kind of got sick of it. Like, I was all right, I'm just going to punt on this one. I was like, it was right before Christmas, and I was like, dude, like, I'm not going to do business with you anymore, but, whatever, Merry Christmas. He ends up calling me 2 weeks later, and we end up doing the deal. After we do a couple buys from him, we arrest him. I'm sitting down there talking to him, and he's like, man, I knew you were a cop. But when you told me Merry Christmas, I'm like, no cop's going to say Merry Christmas. And that's the only reason he sold to me. And I'm like, that's the relationships that I was able to develop with my confidential informants, where you just understand that they're making life choices, and they're different life choices than you made.
Yeah.
But still God's children, right? And everybody should be treated as such. There's evil in this world without question. And those people need to be handed and dealt with accordingly. But you can still do that with respect.
Yeah.
You know, and dignity for that person.
Yeah.
Bro, that's what we say in the hood. Respect the hustle.
Yeah.
Your hustle may be totally different than mine.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the kind of relationships that, like you said, you build in these communities.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he was like, Officer KD, okay, I know I gotta go to jail. Yeah, you hit her.
Yeah.
You going to jail, bro.
Yeah.
Will you take me to jail? I don't want that guy,
right.
you know, because he talked crazy. I'm like, well, I ain't gonna talk crazy. You already know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, respect the hustle. And then, like you said, then he respect what I do.
For sure.
Gave me no
Some
problem.
days you're going to win. Some days I'm going to win.
Yeah.
You know, and we're not, as long as we don't go try hurting each other, we'll be just fine. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I'm going to switch topics just a little bit. So everybody around here knows that you are a fitness guy. So let's talk about it, bro, because I want to get you in this weight room.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Oh, it's been a downward trend here lately. It's pretty bad. Jack stays in it hardcore, and she's looking at me. She's like, "Come on."
So, okay, so now with the new role, do you have more time, less time, or you just not, I don't have time to work out like I used to?
I'm not making the time.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, I could be waking up earlier. It is more difficult for sure working 12s.
12s.
But to be honest with you, even when I was working 10s, lately, I say lately, like a year and a half, it's just trailed off, right?
Yeah.
So I do need to get better, need to get back in. You know, we're afforded the opportunity on shift to work out and stuff like that. And if you work out, you get an hour 15 instead, right? So that's awesome. So really, there's no excuse. I mean, calls are pending, calls are holding. I get it. You got to run them. But no, there's ample opportunity. I ain't getting up at 5:30 with you. I'm just saying. Like, I mean, I'm up then anyway, but it takes. I'm so bad at getting in this uniform. It takes me forever.
Yes, sir.
I'm like, these guys are walking in like 6 minutes before briefing, and I'm like, I don't even get my socks on.
Yeah.
Like, it takes me forever.
Oh, you ought to see me trying to run that earpiece. And, you know, some
That's
guys
a
have
lot.
little holes cut in
Yeah.
their shirts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I don't know how you do
No,
it.
they got it down to a
Right.
science.
Yeah.
They got it down to a science.
Yeah, that's
So
funny.
what else? Because it seems like you're very strong in your faith and your
Yeah.
family. Are those really key components for you and doing the job that you do?
Oh, it's everything. I mean, it's everything. It's, you know, Jacqueline's dad has always said, I remember him telling me years ago, it is get out of God's way. And I didn't really understand it then. But as you mature in your faith and in your walk, you do start to understand that. And it's like every time I just step back and be like, your will, not mine. Everything changes, you know? And I think that it is, I mean, it's everything. It's everything in my family. It's everything in my daily life. And I firmly believe that, you know, we're souls with a body, right? So we're all here we're not here having a bodily experience. We're not bodies having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a bodily experience here on earth, right? And so everything that I'm applying or reading in the Bible, once you realize that we're actually our souls, right? And our body is just the vessel, everything changes in the Bible. You know, all things work together for good to those that love God. It says nothing about here on earth. When it talks about everything works together for good, I believe that that's your eternal good. You know, that's the good of the kingdom. So all of it, you know, and I've been fortunate to partner with Eddie Penny, you know, at Unafraid, wearing the shirt. That's his goal. He was a former Navy SEAL, and now he's got a cool story about being a Navy SEAL and then his transition into finding Christ. And now we're just kind of blasting God's name and being strong men and women in the faith. Christians aren't weak and feeble, you know, and we shouldn't be. So, yeah, short answer is everything.
Yeah.
to everything.
That's great. And I mean, regardless of what you do, but in particular, the jobs that you do and the things that you've seen, you see, like you said, there's a lot of evil out there. And so to have that to, give you a bigger purpose to what all this means and what our journey is, I think that's got to be a major component for you to keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, for sure. And I don't know how people do it without faith, because I rely so heavily on it.
Right.
That's just who I am. I'm always going to prayer in everything. Even if I can't find a lead on this case, I'm like, man, God, just open my eyes, like, show me something.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how people go through life without that. So I'm overwhelmingly happy and blessed to have that relationship with Christ, for sure.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, when we talk about resiliency, it's just that. It's something bigger than myself that I can lean into at any point of the day because it's there and it's a part of me. That's resiliency. Keeps us going. It keeps us stronger. Every time we get hit with some sort of opposition, we have that to continue getting us out of bed every morning doing what we do.
Yeah, and then you also need to take advantage of the opportunities that we have, especially here at Grand Prairie. Like I'm totally fine telling people that, like, I go seek therapy with Kim from Forged in Valor. Like, she's incredible. She's absolutely amazing. Like, if you're not doing it, even if you don't think you need it, just go talk to her. Like, and it's not this. I kind of steered away from therapy for a long time because I didn't want some touchy-feely, well, how does that make you feel? How does that,
Kim is far from that.
No.
She's perfect in every way.
Yeah, she is. So Kim's, it's all, like, Kim's 25-year veteran, I think, from Euless PD, and now does this, and it's this EMDR training, which is what? Eye movement desensitization and
reprocessing.
Yep. And so, dude, it's like, if you have your brain decided to store something like trauma or whatever is considered trauma over here instead of over here, right?
Yeah.
And instead of, you just transition it from an emotional side to a logical side.
Okay.
And you just hold these little things and they buzz back and forth. And all you do is you just close your eyes and you think about it.
Yeah.
And so you'll have something that is creating a physical response in you, like stress, right? Like, I went to go see her for stress.
Okay.
And in certain situations, I could just feel it just sitting on my chest. And she ain't trying to get me to talk through it and kumbaya. It was just think about it.
Yeah.
And all you do is just close your eyes or open your eyes and you just think about it for this 45 seconds while she's buzzing you back and forth. And then she's like, okay, what'd you see? And you can, over the course of 45 minutes, you can just feel yourself. You're all on your own. Logically, you can feel it moving from one side of the brain to the other. It's the craziest thing ever. It's amazing. It just it takes away that emotional response to that event and just allows you to just process it and be like, oh, okay. Like, all the answers are in your own head.
Yep.
It's so cool. I would suggest anybody go to it.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, and I'm about to go on that same path. We can't mandate it, but we can strongly urge it and suggest it.
And we do here.
Yes.
It's Grand Prairie in particular, we're so open and excited to talk about mental health because it needs to be talked about. And I think we're changing the stigma here. But Kim at Forged in Valor is like a household name around here now, which is great. We'll get pictures of guys taking pictures in the waiting room, like, hey, on our way to see Kim. And that, at the end of the day, we're a stronger department. We're stronger, y'all are stronger officers, detectives, whatever, because you're taking care of your brain and your body as a whole. Brain is an organ of the body. We take care of that just like we would if we had a broken ankle.
And that's just it. And I think, like you said, it's removing that stigma from it, because I was not dealing with stress as I should have been, and it was affecting my family life. So as soon as it starts affecting my family life, I'm like, whatever. Even if it is kumbaya, I'm going to go check it out. Yeah. And it's just not, because I know how people feel about it. And I know that, people always say, oh, you need a mental health day or something like that. Like, that's not it's not a weakness. It is literally how your brain chose
Mm-hmm.
to store that event.
Process.
And you just reprocess it.
Yep.
Just shift it over, and you realize, oh, okay, now I'm good. Now I don't have that
Yep.
weight. I don't have that physical response to that anymore.
Yep.
You know, now you just look at it logically.
Right. And it's our brain. So what happens with that whole treatment process, EMDR, it's our only way that we really know to mimic REM sleep. And REM sleep is really the only restorative process our brain has, right? So during trauma, during periods of high stress, we're not getting good REM sleep. So whatever trauma or whatever we're exposed to, our brain can't process properly.
Oh, okay.
So what happens is that sticks in the brain, and that's where you get triggers happening, and those memories come up, like the homicide you had with the female curled up in a ball. Years down the road,
Yeah.
your daughter's in that same position. Boom, that flashback happens immediately, right? Brain probably didn't process that adequately. So what we can do now is we can give you some tappers. That's what they're called, tappers.
Tappers,
Or you
okay.
can use your fingers and have the person follow with their eyes. What that does is it activates both hemispheres of the brain, which is what REM sleep will do. So then you can start to process those memories properly. It's all physiological. It's like black magic. I love it.
Yeah. The
Get me on
old-
my soapbox.
I
over
know,
here.
but no. So, like Josh is right. The old stigma though, because I came up
Yeah.
in that era where it was like, nope, you don't talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, boys don't cry.
Suck it up.
Suck it up. Let's go next
Yeah.
call.
Yeah.
And it's like then it starts to divide my family. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I got to do something because KD. Oh, as good as you are, you don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and my therapist would tell me, yeah, you give or you devote a lot of time to police work and being excellent. You have to do the same thing at home.
100%. Yep.
You are just as much at fault if you see an officer struggling and you don't say shit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You are terrible.
Yeah.
You are a terrible person, officer, whoever you are. If you sitting out there watching your fellow person struggle,
Yeah.
I can tell you are no longer weak. That is 86. We used
Yeah.
to think like that. If you need the help, go get it.
Yep. Yep.
You know, now you're crazy if it's like, man, we offer so much. Hell, here, we offer so much. If you're struggling and you're not saying nothing, like, bro, come talk to me. I don't care who you are. Send me an email. I won't say nothing on air. I'll get you some help. You know, my therapist saved my life and my relationship.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have all the answers.
Yep.
I try to be great at what I do, but we just don't. And so, you know, I think that's a key component.
Yep.
You know, we was talking the other day about financial.
Mm-hmm.
You know, officers are doing 25, 30, hell, some 35, 40 years, and you can't retire.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah.
You know, and here we make good money, and you're able to go to different classes and get all this education, and we don't take advantage of it.
I love that they started doing that in the NFL. You know what I mean? You had all those young dudes with all that money and no idea how to use it because it's the most money they've ever seen in their life. You know, so I think I hope that the stigma is removed or gets removed. You know, and GP offers, you know, even financial assistance with it. So it's like there's no excuse, and it stays there. You know, it is what it is. And so I just don't care. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll shout at anybody that wants to talk to me about it, that wants to talk about, you know, Kim or whatever. Like, hit me up.
Yeah.
I'm good.
No, Josh, you have to get in line. I will shout it and I'll talk about it because I've seen what it's done for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's man, if you think you have all the answers, first of all, I'm gonna get away from you because you don't.
Yeah.
Like you're an idiot. Get away from me. But no, help your fellow brother or sister. You know, hell, I'm not even just talking about police officers. Anybody.
Yeah.
When you see them struggling, get them some help.
Yeah.
And that's such a good point too, because you may be the only person who has that much contact with them on a day-to-day basis and can actually see something is really not right here, right? And that sometimes is the difference between a suicide and not.
Yeah.
Like that is just the reality of it.
And if you think that you're in that opportunity or in that moment on happenstance, you're wrong. You know, I think that God's guiding my life, and if I know that He's going to present opportunities for me to speak on Him and to help people. And so, you know, if I miss that opportunity, like I said, if you don't say something, you passing up on an opportunity to really help somebody.
Yeah.
Yep.
The real
That's
man.
crap.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that.
Right.
Don't do that.
You're going to get me started on a whole other
Yep.
tangent. I'm going to leave that alone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, bro. So how many years all in? You said 18 or 16?
20.
16 here, 20 total.
Okay. eligible for retirement.
No, because
No.
the 4 years didn't count. So I got 16. In 4 years, I'll be eligible to retire here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, where else do you see yourself going? Is it
Promoting.
promoting?
Promoting. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, it's just time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, I didn't feel that way before.
Yeah.
So next time a sergeant's exam pops up, and I'll talk about it with Jack, and if it's good for us, then we're just going to move forward with it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm excited. You just definitely got comfy in majors.
Yeah.
And am now unbelievably happy to have moved on because I do see things very differently now, and I can't be. I'm telling you, I cannot be an FTO because when I went back, Officer Rue let me ride with him for 2 days, right?
Ooh.
And he was going to let me drive, but I was like, no, I'm not going to disrespect you. Like, this is your car. It's your take home. No, you drive. I'll ride.
Yeah.
I'm a control freak. Okay. I am a control freak. I get car sick the second I'm in the passenger seat. Everywhere with anybody. I hate riding. I have to drive. But I'm like, it's your car. I'll let you drive. And we're driving. And I'm like, okay, this isn't so bad. He's a good driver. And then we had to go fast, right? Like, we're flying, trying to catch up to these jugging suspects. And I'm going to go watch my body cam because it has to be hilarious. Because I know I'm like, brakes, dude, brakes. Like, I am freaking out in this passenger seat, ripping his overhead handle off the door. I'm like,
I'm going to need you to download that and send it to me.
I cannot do it because and he was a great driver. I hated not being in control.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Jesus take the wheel though, right?
Yeah, but it was Rue. It wasn't Jesus. You know? You know what I mean? No knock on Rue. It's not Jesus.
It was Rue. It wasn't Jesus. That needs to be put on a shirt or something. That's great.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so couple things. So you said jugging. That is something that we're seeing probably everywhere, but I know in the Metroplex. Be careful. So in my unit, we just passed out a bunch of brochures to banks. But yeah, be vigilant of the people that are sitting outside at the banks just watching.
Yeah. Do you think people know what that is? Yeah, jugging is when you, because there's a lot of non-officers that watch this podcast.
I don't know what it is.
Oh, okay.
So jugging is like when you'll have guys post up at ATMs or banks, and they'll wait until somebody leaves with a bank bag or it looks like a large wad of cash.
Big, real quick. Sorry.
Big. And then they'll follow that. Big. Did I say it?
You did.
Dang it.
It sounded great. You can go. You can
How am I
keep
supposed to say it? Bag?
Big. Bag. I think you should just keep going with big.
Big.
Oh, I thought you said big, like B-I-G.
Bank bag.
Big.
Bank bag.
Bank bag or a big,
Big.
wad of cash.
You hear it? Big.
These accents.
Okay. Sorry.
So mucho money, and then they'll follow them, and they'll either break into their car and steal it, or sometimes they're kind of getting more violent and they're doing robberies.
Yeah.
So, it is a
Scary.
big thing, and so we were actually able to catch them.
Wow.
With me screaming and yelling the whole time in the car, but
He was saying
we got 'em.
breaks. Breaks.
Yeah.
Break.
Man.
Yeah.
Brick. Oh, man.
Wow. I had
Okay.
no idea what that was.
Yeah, so your days?
Days A.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it not too, because some people go, oh, man, you come back to patrol if you go days. It's a little bit slower than nights. But you're still trying to get your,
I'm all right with that.
yeah.
I think that there is a certain component that when you go deal with, especially major crimes,
Yeah.
it takes a little recalibration to, I hate to say it, start caring about the smaller stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's good to just give it back. I mean, it's still, I'm like kind of having fun doing BMV reports and stuff like that. Like I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't know how to log into to the computer and all that stuff. So kind of getting my feet wet again. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's just nice to be back out there.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That's
Different
cool.
pace.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. As far as advice, like somebody's that's looking into being a detective, whether it's, robberies or majors or property, what advice would you give them, knowing what you know?
Go shadow them.
Okay.
Right? Because we got guys putting in for the unit and they don't know what, especially if you're looking at majors or I would assume SWAT, something with call-out status.
Yeah.
You need to go right out with them. You need to kind of get an idea of what it's actually like, and you have to get a full grasp of what that unit entails.
Yeah.
Because there were times where it was like, you're here for 24 hours on a murder. You go home.
How long?
24 hours. Even longer.
I'm out.
And then you go home, take a nap, come back. You know what I mean? Like if it's rolling, you just stay.
Yeah.
And you try to, Sarge would try to rotate people out. Hey, you go sleep for a little while and then, we'll rotate and stuff like that. So what would suck is to get you trained up and then realize that you can't handle it and your family can't handle it.
Yeah.
And it's okay that if you can, you just understand what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And you can do that by coming up and shadowing. You may go to a decomposing body and you're like, not for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to do it. So that's kind of you don't get to, as a patrol officer, you get to go in, find it, and then leave, right? That doesn't happen in majors, And that applies with any unit, whether it's narcs or auto theft or property or whatever. Go hang out with them, go on some call outs, get to understand exactly what the job actually is. And I would encourage everybody to do it. I do wish we had the system where detective was promotion, because I learned so much, and having that experience in other units and being a detective changes you as a supervisor, and it's totally changed how I do stuff on the street now.
Yeah.
So I would encourage everybody to get some time.
Yeah.
You just have a better grasp of what you need for cases and what to be looking for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I remember Josh showed up on a case when I was working out in the streets, and he was like, oh, no. I need to talk to that guy, that homeowner, because video surveillance or something. And I don't know if somebody told me, Katie, you go over there. Everybody here knows I'm not the tech guy. All this technical stuff, you're going to miss me with it. So Josh was like, yeah, hey, Katie, ask them about their cameras and downloading or something. And then I heard thumb drive or jump drive. And so I remember just standing there like this. And you were like, you know what? I'll do it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll show you which house it is over here. It was funny. We were out on a real call, and I'm like, nope, Major's not for me.
There's a lot of that. Yeah.
Did you have to go to school for that, or did you take a training class for that?
Yeah, you go to a bunch of different training for that. It's a FBI school for DVRs.
Yeah.
It's like a week-long school. It's super. That's awesome. They have like 20-some different DVRs all set up that you get to try to crack into and download and all that stuff. Yeah.
See, when he say crack into, you like figuring out how to get the information, right?
Yeah.
Crack into is me just drop it and see if I can break it.
Yeah, that's where
inside.
mine went.
Yeah. I'm like, we can break it open.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
A whole week long.
Yeah. And then, different stuff like cell phones are huge for solving crimes. So go to cell phone tracking schools and how to read, your call detail records to see what towers you were using at what times and get a pattern of life in your call detail records. So it's nerd stuff, but super
You
cool.
lost him.
It's fun.
You lost him. He's still trying to catch up on DVR.
Yeah. DVRs. Do we even use those anymore?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Very cool.
So look, now I'm finna go off on my tangent, or I just have questions. So is it true that most murders are solved because of technology? I think that was the first 48. I think I heard that.
I don't know about
That sounds
most.
like
I think back on when guys like Alan Frizzell and stuff like that, and old school, like before the advent of cell phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did y'all solve anything?
Yeah.
Like,
No phone, okay. Cold case, man.
yes, like slide it on down, and it's because it far more difficult, and you just had to have a different skill set.
Yeah.
We got to work with Frizzell a little bit before he ultimately retired, and it was funny because he would bring an element to the unit that nobody else had, and we were able to talk. He would just hand me stuff and be like, just do your stuff, just find it, just let me know what you find. With social media and all these technology and spoofing phone numbers and all kinds of stuff, like
spoofing. That was the first time I've heard of that.
Spoofing phone numbers, where you get one of those apps like Text Me or whatever, and you get a new phone number assigned to your phone, so then you can start harassing people or doing whatever.
That's what they're doing to me, and I didn't know it. Like all these bill collectors. I mean, GP, I pay my bills. Medical bills. Spoofing.
You let them
I'm gonna
hit
answer the
collect.
phone. I'll be like, hey, bro, stop spoofing me. That's funny. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that aspect of it, I can tell y'all have fun. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It's
Yeah.
great and it's amazing. Like the pattern of life that you naturally develop with cell phone usage and stuff like that
Yeah.
is we analyze that and you'll see changes in your pattern of life when people are committing crimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like I said, super nerd stuff, super cool. And and all the information's there and you just get to decide how to use it. You know, Apple Watches are big.
Yeah.
You can use those and
Really?
all kinds of stuff.
Apple Watches.
Yep. Google searches, advertisements, everything is media now, right?
Right.
So you can use all of that stuff to help build your cases.
So could I go to Majors and like we be the first duo? So I would have somebody
Oh,
assign
Lord.
to me, and I'd be like, bro, you got all the tech stuff. Bring me the suspect, and I'm the one in the room, you know, and I'm like, bro, get comfortable, and you finna tell me what I want to know. I get it out of him every time. All right, case closed. Good work, bro. Good
He's
work.
really confident. I would love to see him in an interview.
I would too. Now I want to
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
You know who's amazing? McComb. Detective McComb is the best interviewer
I could see that.
by far.
Yeah.
But I mean, he looks like Woody from Toy Story, so he's got that trusting face.
He does.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna tell you.
He just goes in
everything.
there and
It's
he's like, "You got a friend in me," and they just confess. They're like, "I did it.
it's awesome.
I did it." Don't hate me, Pat.
No, I love
man.
it.
Okay. I tell you, I could go all day with this one. All right. So,
God.
well, I think you'll make a great sergeant, bro, because you,
I hope so.
yeah, you've been around.
Yeah.
We need good sergeants.
Yeah.
As always.
Yeah.
Anything else, Miss Emily, before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. Other than just if you're interested in getting started in law enforcement career, communications, detention center, definitely in need of people right now. So if you've thought about it, get on, apply. It's a great way to transition into this career field.
Yeah, same thing too. Do a ride along. You know, come on out, check it out. Come check it out.
Absolutely.
That is so big. Come in, do the paperwork, do the ride along. Every city is different.
Yeah.
So I'll just put it out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because we get that question, how much do you make? Bro, if you go to the wrong city and you're making a lot of money, you're going to be miserable.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, so go do the ride along, then ask that officer a lot of questions and figure out what's a good fit for you. All right, so until next time, Josh, we appreciate you
Yes.
coming out.
For sure.
All right, and we'll see
you.
y'all next time.
All right.